Welcome to this episode of the How I Do It series, where I walk you through how I handle different challenges in the brewing process. This isn't the way, might not even be the best way. It is, however, my way, how I handle challenges in the brewery with my gear and my process. Today, I'm going to show you how I clean this beast. It's an X3 15-gallon jacketed fermenter. We're going to use a CIP process. The equipment we're going to use today is a stainless steel sump pump, and we're going to attach that to a CIP rotating ball that's going to do all the heavy lifting. So let's get to it. First up, we're going to drain the unit. To do that, we're going to close this valve. This can get messy, so we want to try to mitigate that a little bit with a bucket. With this closed, we're gonna... Now, this can be messy, so be cautious. A pro tip, never close this valve before you're ready to take it off, because if you do, it can continue to ferment, and then this stops being a yeast capture vessel, and it becomes a bomb. We don't like bombs. Got to make sure it's closed. As I said, this can get messy. Step 2, get yourself a bin. This bin fits perfectly into this space. This is important because it gives me room to capture the liquid coming out and still has room for my pump. You'll see more about that later in a second. So let's go ahead and let this flow. Not much left. So we've emptied all the remaining beer that's in there, and now we're going to open it up. Even though it's completely open on the bottom, I still like to pull that PRV before I start unscrewing things. I'm probably going to speed ramp this. So as you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but we got a nasty little Krausen line right there. We're going to take care of that. Next, I'm going to rinse the unit out with hot water. It's not hot yet. About the sprayer, I have this directly connected to the hot line under my sink. So it runs, after I run the line a little, it runs out at about 55 Celsius, which in Fahrenheit is pretty damn hot. After I loosen it up a bit, I'm going to hit it with a sponge. Be careful that the sponge you use isn't abrasive. We don't want to do any scratching inside this unit. Using a sponge makes this not necessarily a complete CIP process, but I like to be thorough. Next, we're going to mix up some PBW and about 4 liters of water. So that's about 4 scoops of PBW. Always check the proper measurement for your chemicals. You don't want to be that guy who's guessing and you have something that's either too corrosive or not corrosive enough. So our friends over at 5 Star have put a lot of time into calculating the proper mixtures, so you should pay attention to that. And by the way, thanks to our friends over at 5 Star for creating such great products like PBW and Star Sand, which I'll be using exclusively today. 4 liters of water. Good friend of mine told me once, never add PBW to a dry container. Always make sure you have liquid in there first. Thanks, Nick. What is this called? CIP. Next, we're going to connect this CIP ball with a rotating ball head. We're going to use a quick connect over here. We have a hose that's set up with the same quick connect. And we have our pump, which is stainless steel and may or may not be in the shot. Let's see. And we have our pump. About the pump. This is a stainless steel 3/4 horsepower sump pump. I like it because it's 100% stainless steel. The last pump I had started to rust and corrode, and I just don't want that stuff in my beer. So I went with this one. I've been using it for about 6 months now, and so far so good. Let's talk about some of the pieces that I'm using for my CIP. I have a reinforced hose that I got from More Beer, and these disconnects are really what made all the difference for me. So I attach one to the CIP ball and one to the hose, and it allows me to just very easily connect that. And then we're going to connect this to our pump. We're off to the races. I like to connect the gas posts, so while we're circulating through here, we're also running some PBW through both of our ball locks. Make sure the gas goes on the gas and the liquid goes on the liquid. Or else we have a real problem later. It's worth noting that if you don't have everything tight at this point, the CIP process will absolutely tell you. You'll see leaks in water coming out the sides. So we will make sure we tighten everything down. We're going to run this for about 35-40 minutes. So now we're faced with one of the many hurdles that brewing brings. I have a full bin. I wedged the bin to get it in, and how do I get it out? So here's how I solve the problem. I'm going to get another bucket, disconnect the hose, and run the PBW right across to that bucket. Problem solved. We'll save this for later. Now it's time to rinse out the unit. So we've already captured our PBW in a secondary container. We're going to use that later today to clean a keg and also to soak all of our TC ports. Now we're filling up the bin with water, and we're going to do a clean water rinse. And then after that, we'll do a PBW rinse. No? Let's do that again. Okay, so we've already captured. And let's go. Now we're filling the bin. Now we're filling the bin with water. See, I'm getting tongue-tied again. That tonguey diggity tongue tiggity tongue. Okay, let's try it again. Now that we've pulled the PBW out of the water, what the fuck is it called? Now that we pulled our cleaning solution out, it's time to fill the bin with water, hot water, and we're gonna run that through. The water cycle I'm probably gonna do for about 10 minutes, and let's get that done. Let's catch up. We've already run our PBW solution through the fermenter for enough time to ensure that everything is clean and all the nasties are gone. We've captured that PBW into a secondary bucket. We're going to use that later to clean a keg and also to soak all of our tri-clamp ports. The next thing for us to do is to fill the bin with hot water, at least 55 Celsius. We're going to run that through the cycle for about 10 minutes, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Let's get to it. We've completed our water rinse, and now it's time to start taking this thing apart. All the little bits are going to go into the PBW bucket. We don't want to put this whole unit into the PBW. In fact, we can just put this one in the star sand after we've taken the gauge off. Per the recommendations from Spike, the spunning valve is going to go straight into the star sand. Another great product from our friends at 5 Star. Okay, what's next? Now that we have everything pulled off, all the little bits are soaking in the PBW. I'm going to give that an overnight soak, and I'm going to come back to this in the morning. In the meantime, just as a precaution, I'm going to do a quick visual inspection. And then I'm going to spray this down with some star sand and cover it up with some tin foil just to keep anything from getting into it overnight while we're finishing up our process. So here's where we're at. Everything's clean. It's mostly sanitized. We've covered all the port openings with some tin foil that's been sprayed with star sand. We have all of our TC bits soaking in PBW. It's going to soak overnight. Tomorrow we're going to rinse all those pieces and reassemble. After we've done that, we'll put the whole unit under some pressure. I like to keep 3 to 5 pounds of pressure inside the vessel after it's completely cleaned and sanitized. That way, when I come back to use it, if it's still holding pressure, I know it's going to be good for the beer. So it's something I do. Your mileage may vary. And at this point, I guess we've done everything we're going to do for today. So I will see you in the morning.
Look at us minimizing trash in the world.
Good morning. We're back in the brewery, getting our first cup of coffee down, and we have just a little bit more to do to finish up this process. Let's get to it. General rule of thumb is anything that touches beer gets cleaned and sanitized. As I said before, you should always keep a bucket of Star Sand handy in the brewery because, well, it's just that. It's handy. We have a sprayer to spritz each port, and we have a bucket to dump each bit. Again, we want to give it one last visual inspection before we put it together. While it's not necessary, I like to put all of the tri-clamps in the same orientation. That way I don't have to think about which way to turn to tighten up a port. Now this one we definitely don't want to over tighten because it will eat right through the silicone. Just tight enough so it doesn't twist on its own. This top ring is my least favorite. The reason is because sometimes it looks like it's perfectly seated and it's not. So we want to be very slow and methodical on this one. Once it's seated, you can give it a little twist, and if it's smooth, it's a good chance it's seated properly. Okay, now we got to put some thought into how this is all going to go back into here. So we're going to have the glycol facing this way, and with the glycol facing this way, the pump is this way. I'm going to want to give this a little bit of a twist. So my gauges and my spunning valve is forward. So all the pieces are back together. The last thing we have to do is run a little star sand through the entire unit, and then we're almost done. We are going to use my stainless steel sump pump to push the star sand through the vessel. This is going to do a couple of things. It's going to give us a quick visual if we have any leaky spots. Oftentimes you'll see it leaking out of those spots under pressure. And then it's going to sanitize everything. Then we're going to let that drain out. Put the I forget what they call that thing, but we're going to put the little cup on the bottom and give it a little pressure, and then we'll be done. It's a good idea to connect the hose before you turn on the pump. Everything appears to be tight. I don't see any leaky spots. So we'll just go ahead and capture a little bit of that star sand in there. We don't want it all to run out. We want to leave some in there. Make sure that's nice and tight. We could have chosen to save that star sand, but our friends at 5 Star make star sand so affordable, there's really no reason to reuse it. So I'm just going to make up a fresh batch once we're done here. I changed my mind. This is my least favorite one to install. Round 2. Third attempt. Third time's a charm. So, using this yeast capture container, a lot of folks will keep this closed, and then after fermentation, they open it up and let the yeast drop out. And then they'll close it up, take it off, and reuse that yeast. I don't really reuse my yeast, so I'm not really looking to capture it. Honestly, I don't even know why I have it on here, because I just leave it open. But it's on there, and we're going to go ahead and put some pressure in this baby. I like to keep 3 to 5 pounds of pressure on this. Right now, we have a clean, sanitized fermenter, and it's completely ready. I could put beer in there right now, but I probably won't put beer in here for another week or two. So after everything's closed up, I'm going to put a little pressure in there, and then when I come back and I see that it has still 3 to 5 pounds of pressure, then I know that everything is tight and there's no leaks, and that gives me confidence when I put the beer in there. So that's the last step. Let's go and do that. Missed a piece. It's not going to hold pressure without that. There's an old adage, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And sometimes when I'm doing these videos, I'm not following that properly. I'm going fast is fast, and now fast is slow. Just gotta redo a few pieces. I've been using Teflon on here, and it was recently pointed out to me that I probably shouldn't. So I'm not gonna use Teflon today. And we'll find out if I've been doing it correctly, which probably have not been doing it correctly. So I'm gonna just trust the process, and we're not putting Teflon on there today. Let's try this again. Often, but not always, if you spray a little Star San on all the TC fittings, it will give you some little bubbles if there's any leaks. But speaking from experience, it doesn't always. That's why we have 5 PSI. So I'm going to take a photo of that, so later when I come back, I will remember I was at 5 and not 3. And ladies and gentlemen, the fermenter is clean. It is sanitized. It is inspected. It is under pressure. It is ready to use. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. All of my gear that I use today will be available in the comment section. So hopefully if you are looking to mimic my process and you have one of these bad boys, it works for you. I'm always supposed to say, like, subscribe. I think we're up to 11 viewers now. So let's see if we can get to 12.